Hi. So this is my intro to the addiction, the disease of greed video. And please know that when I say that, I'm not talking about personality flaws. I'm not talking about character traits. I'm not talking about, things that we should feel ashamed of or that are just kind of, what do they call it in Celebrate Recovery? I can't really think. Character flaw? I don't know. What I'm truly talking about is the science behind addiction. So the science behind neural pathways having been laid because you turn to this drug over and over and over again. There was dopamine downregulation, so it's dose dependent, meaning you could have used to taken this much and then to get a nice little dopamine hit, and then you had to take more to get that same hit. Then you had to take more to get that same high, which is why there's no high like the first high. And for us sugar addicts, there's just, my goodness, the tolerance that we can build, right? I remember one night, and I've said this in other videos, I got up in the middle of the night. This was a couple years ago. I got up in the middle of the night to get a drink of water, but instead I ate a whole box of chocolates in the middle of the night. I remember when I was doing Weight Watchers at one point, I was white knuckling it, just trying. So I talk a lot about it's got to be white flags, not white knuckles. White knuckles are not sustainable. White knuckles are red flags. But I was doing Weight Watchers, and I was just kind of white knuckling every day, and I had so much support, and there was a lot of community. But I had not evicted the Tasmanian devil, aka sugar, out of my life. I was still trying to live with him and trying to still have him in moderation. And a little sugar is too much sugar for a sugar addict. So I remember one time I got into the powdered donuts, and I ate, 10 or 12. I used to think, wow, I really have a stomach of steel. No, I don't. I have a brain that's addicted to this drug, and it's taking an enormous amount for me to calm down and quit shaking and relax and get high. By the way, powdered sugar is something I turned to often because the powdered form of sugar versus the granular form of sugar could hit my bloodstream quicker, which is what is in chocolate. Correct me if I'm wrong, but no wonder we turn to certain things over others to hit the spot. Our addiction knows just how to get what it wants when it wants, and it wants it now. So powdered sugar, I gotta stay away from icing because I know that it would be 0.2 seconds and I'd be happy mom, hi mom, right? No, hi mom, sober. Okay, so this is my intro. Again, when I say the addiction of greed, I literally mean the disease of greed. I literally mean biologically, physiologically. I'm not talking personality. I'm talking the nature of addiction is that it's never enough. And Susan Pierce Thompson talks about this in her book, that these cravings are insatiable. So rather than getting that well to pump, we want to dry it up and starve that behavior. I love behavioral psychology, behavior modification, blah, blah, blah. If you stick around to the end of this, there will be food pictures. I am right in the middle of some food prep. I used to want to be a food prepper, and now I am out of necessity. Isn't it amazing how things are born out of necessity? So if you watched my tightening the ship videos, I am tightening this ship because I'm laser focused, I'm driven, I'm headed towards my goal. I want to wrap this up. God is making it clear to me that He has plans beyond losing weight for me. And He's telling me, go ahead and get the weight off so that we can get rolling on some other stuff. So anyways, I'll add all that to the end. And when you see these videos or these pictures, I want you to keep something in mind. Taking excellent care of ourselves is not selfish. There is nothing, almost nothing, I'll say almost, there's almost nothing better we can do for our loved ones than to take excellent care of ourselves. When I've made my way through the high five and I've got my priorities straight and I've met with God and I've rested and I've drank water and I've got nutrition in my system and there's been some activity in my life, those high five, God, rest, water, nutrition, activity. When I am taking care of me, I can take much better care of those around me. And don't you and I both know that when we're in the throes of our addiction and we're constantly trying to hit that spot, and we're constantly obsessing over like, oh, what would be good? What do I want? Where do I want to get it? Oh, I just ate this and I need something salty, sweet. Like you just, that, I'm not going to say it's selfish. I'll call it ill. We're in the midst of an illness. But that right there is so time consuming. For me to take excellent care of myself, I almost thought a minute ago, like, wow, I'm really spending a lot of time on myself today. But I'm spending time on me today that I won't have to tomorrow. And then I'll do the same thing tomorrow for the next day. So for me to prepare all this food and have it in the refrigerator allows me to be present when my kids are around me eating their meal, and instead of exhausted and trying to find something, even if it's bright line foods, that will do the trick or hit the spot. So all this work ahead of time is not only for me, but it's absolutely for them. And so let me encourage you, from one mom to another, one mom to a dad maybe. Typically it's I hear so much about mom guilt. No, I live by a strict no guilt, no worry, no shame policy. Guilt can be self-serving. Jesus tells us not to worry, and shame is from the enemy. So, God will convict us to change. He's not going to shame us into changing. So, anyways, when I hear moms feel guilty about taking care of themselves, I'm like, no, not only does that make you better and stronger and happier and more creative and more relaxed and more present to serve those around you, it also models for your children that when they are grown and they have families of their own and they have a long list of people they care for, to keep themselves on that list, to care for themselves also. So if you feel overrun, overwhelmed, stretched thin, you may not be taking good enough care of you. So anyways, there's all that. You'll see these pictures at the end of this video. I'm pretty excited that not only is my food written down, it's all ready in the refrigerator, ready for me to eat. How cool is that? So tonight, when I send this to Diana, check. I've already had that breakfast and that lunch, just like I said I would. I'm taking my commitments more seriously. I'm eating only and exactly what I wrote down for the month of January. And then the month of February, I'm giving myself 5 coupons to swap 5 meals, and that's it. So there it's backwards. February swap number 1, and then I just put a little number at the top, February swap number 2, and so on. Hi, my name is Emily. I am a faithful follower of Christ, and I'm addicted to sugar, flour, and binging. Okay, so P.S. on my intro. This food prepping like this might seem like a lot of work, or maybe even not sustainable, but it's really good for me to keep in mind that we always food prep. We just normally do it right before we eat it, right? So we always weigh and measure our food, or pull it out of the refrigerator, or divvy it up, or decide what we're going to eat. The work always happens in one shape or form, but it typically happens right before we eat it. So all I'm doing is allowing myself to eat and then prep tomorrow's food afterwards. So there's still food prep and eating, but unlike my previous behavior, I would just prep it and eat it and then eat it. This way, I get to immediately eat food, have energy and fuel to then fuel my work, which is my food prep. And if I'm making lunch for my husband and my 5 kids, I've already got all this food pulled out. So I can just, instead of putting it back in the refrigerator, I can start grabbing fruits and vegetables and weighing and measuring them and sticking them in these little glass lock or Tupperware containers. So again, it might seem like a lot of work, but it's good to remember the work is going to happen one way or another. Typically it happens right before we eat, which right before we eat is when we are so ready to eat. So what a gift I'm giving myself to be able to open that refrigerator and eat when I'm ready, and not feel harried or panicked of like, oh, what am I gonna eat? And then even if I've already got it written down, I start dipping into the back of my brain here, my emotional centers, thinking that's not what I really want, and that I don't think that'll cut it, and I'm so exhausted, I need more starch, I need more carbs, I need more fats. Nope, if I already have it made, I'll think, oh, what a gift I gave myself, and had it all ready yesterday. So again, the work is gonna happen. The food prep is gonna happen, but typically we food prep 2 seconds before we start chewing and swallowing. And so this way, again, I'm switching the order of operation. Instead of prepping and then eating, I'm eating and then prepping for the next day. I was kind of thinking, will I do all this at night? No, I don't think I will. I think I will, when I have breakfast foods out, I'll go ahead and prep breakfast. When I have lunch foods out for my family, I'll go ahead and prep my lunch for the next day. So we'll see. If I didn't get it done during the day, then I really might do this at night, because I am pretty excited about tightening this ship, and I think this is really going to help to have all these awesome foods not only thought through and written down, but made up, ready to go, ready to eat. All right, here we go on this video, addiction, the disease of greed. Okay, just ran to the water department and then the post office in my little small town. I can run like 15 errands in 4 minutes. I love it. And I used to walk all these errands when I lived right in town, but now I live out of town on the farm, so I have to drive to do all this. So here I am parked in a parking lot. I'm not outside a pharmacy like usual, but let's do this. Addiction, the disease of greed. I like to think of the definition of greed as just simply wanting more. So if you give me 10 minutes, I'm gonna need 12, right? Or if you, if I got 4 ounces of protein, I want 6. It's like greed is just wanting more and never being satisfied, which is not how I want to be. I want to be content and satisfied with what I'm given and what I have. And I love the saying, we want to want what we have, not have what we want. So wanting more, the actual feeling of wanting is very uncomfortable, where you're just like desperate for something you don't have, which gets us into some kind of danger zone of comparing ourselves to other people and what they have, and envying or coveting what they have, which is, I like how Cameron Diaz said, to compare yourself to someone else is an assault on your own self. We're all dealt a different hand of cards, and we typically present each other the good cards, but we all got some doozies in there, right? And they are God-given doozies. I was just emailing a friend this morning. Hi Heather, I consider you a friend. And we were emailing back and forth about, if you haven't read The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren, I highly recommend it. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have read it. I think it's like one of the #1 most selling books ever. He talks about we have God-given strengths, but we also have God-given, hear this, God-given weaknesses. Why might God give us weaknesses? Well, maybe because we are one body and we are designed and created to work together. So when I realized this, that God gives us our strengths and He gives us our weaknesses, I realized that's where we fill in the blanks for each other. That's where we can lend a helping hand. And I used to give my husband a hard time about his many glaring weaknesses, until I realized, oh, where he's weak, that's where I'm supposed to come in. So then I started letting him off the hook. I was like, you know what, your weaknesses really aren't that big of a deal. Because I realized, oh, we have opposite strengths and weaknesses. I'm pretty sure God gave him me for that. So it's really not his problem to solve. I'm pretty sure I'm the solution. Okay, so anyways, my husband's perfect. Okay. So the difference is, so it's very uncomfortable to want. And we can all think of times in our lives where we wanted something desperately. And the feeling of wanting is like, I don't know, squeezing blood from a turnip. That's just kind of what comes to mind. Almost like you want it, but it's not there, and you cannot make it manifest. You can't make it happen. So the feeling of wanting is very uncomfortable. Very different than eager anticipation, like the arrival of a baby or a package from Amazon. You're not wanting it, you're anticipating it because it's been promised to you. So I just want to make that distinction. But wanting is wanting something that you don't have. When I get a catalog in the mail, I put it in the trash because I don't want to want something that I didn't want 10 minutes ago. And I definitely don't want to hand over any more of what's in here to, the plethora of places that want what's in there. And, there's some days there's not much in there. So I'm gonna cling to it. All right, so let's see here. I scratched out some notes. So whether we're wanting a toy or weight loss or whatever it is that we're wanting, let's remember that God gives us what we need. So I used to want more discipline, and I did not get it until I needed it. I used to want to be a food prepper. I even bought all the containers. I used to want to prep food like I'd see these people on TV. And I didn't until I needed to, until I need to now. So I often find that I want the tool, but God doesn't give it to me yet because I don't need it yet. I, for a while, was wanting muck boots that came up to my knee. I've got little short ones, but I was wanting some tall ones, and my husband was like, you don't need those. Those are really for like working cows, like he does, like walking through a foot of manure. And I'm realizing, you know what? Sometimes the things that we want, we'll eventually get them if we need them, and it will be when there's work to be done. So if you don't have something in your life, maybe just enjoy this time period where you don't yet, because it's probably by the time you get it going to come with some work. So let's enjoy where we are while we're here. All right, so okay, so God's going to give us the tools. He's going to give us what we need. So if we're really wanting something, we might want to reframe that in our mind, and we might realize that what we need to do is want to need it. And certainly discern whether it's our flesh that's wanting it or the spirit that's wanting it. God is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. It's Him. It always has been. He's just got the final say. So Philippians 4:13, we can do all things through Christ, but John 15:5, we can do nothing without Him. He is the vine, we are the branches, and it's when we abide in Him that we have life. So God is the source. Everything else is a resource, and everything ultimately comes from Him. It's His provision, so we want to let Him provide the vision. I'll say that again. It's His provision, so let's let Him provide the vision. Let's let Him decide what we truly need. I am saying all this because as addicts with the disease of greed, we often want more, and that is an exhaustive way to live. So, Psalm 23. I'm going to read that in just a minute. If you don't have it, then it's not your time to have it. Whether that be a spouse or weight loss or anything else you can imagine that you think you want, you must not need it yet. so we can trust God's timing. We can trust and obey. There's no better way to be happy in Jesus than to trust and obey. And on Bright Line Eating, we can trust that we have what we need. So I want to start telling my brain that after every single meal, typically tells me, that wasn't enough, I want more. I want to start being more content with what I have. I want to realize that I have what I need. And that if I don't need it. And that all I really want, or at least all I really want, is more of Him. So I'm going to read Psalm 23, and down below I'm going to add 2 verses. I'm going to add the verse where Jesus tells us, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. When it doesn't feel easy and it feels just insurmountable, those are weights that we're carrying on ourselves. And He tells us, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So again, when we feel the weight of the world on us, we are choosing to carry that weight. I'm also going to add let's see. I'll figure it out. There's another scripture that I want to add, and I will put it below. And I'll also add Psalm 23. So, here's Psalm 23. The Lord is, this is a Psalm of David, as in David and Goliath, as in Jesus came from this lineage. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So, the Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. And I, by the grace of God, just remember the third scripture that I'm going to put below. And I already said a few in here, but the 3 I'm going to put below are Psalm 23, the scripture about my burden is easy and my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And I'm also going to add Paul saying, I know what it is to have plenty. I know what it is to have little. Paul saying that he knows the secret to being content. So let me encourage you, if I may, and I'm certainly encouraging myself, to be content, that we have what we need, and what we really want is what we have. So I'm going to eat my meals, and I'm going to do what I can to be at peace after I chew and swallow that last bite, and know that it's just enough. I love you guys. Here are some food pictures, and as usual, I will add a picture of me at the end of my before and now. So again, I'm not even going to call it before and after, because this body right here, this body you're looking at, is a work in progress, and there will be no after picture until someday when I'm in an urn. That will be my final after. Oh my gosh, someone please do that for me. No, that's kind of morbid. In case you're wondering, look at that. Ow. I have issues with well water, which is why I just went to the water department. It's called dyshydrotic eczema on my hands from the well water. Youch. So, anyways, that's why it looks like I've been in a fight. All right. You should see the other guy. Love you guys. Bye. Wow. I love when that happens. So I was just looking up so that I can put down in the description below those scriptures. What was the scripture where Paul says, I know what it is to have plenty. I know what it is to have little. I know the secret to being content. That is Philipians 4:12. That is the sentence right before Philippians, or that's the verse right before Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. So I love that. I love this great big Bible that used to seem so overwhelming and infinite. I love just watching it come together and seeing how it all comes together. So Philippians 4:12. I didn't realize it, but I just quoted two verses that are right there back to back. Yay!